The door creaked once and stayed open. The man didn't rise, just sat at the edge of the table, fingers around a chipped mug. His boots were muddy. The coffee is cold. She stepped inside slowly, eyes sweeping the cabin like she already knew it. A canvas sack in her hand. She set it down, unwrapped the cloth, a loaf of bread, browned just right, still warm. He didn't blink. She pulled out a folded paper and slid it across the table. "I'm renting the room upstairs," she said. He glanced at the paper. "Didn't put any sign out." "Don't need one. This house still stands. I was told it's enough." "You were told wrong." She didn't flinch, just reached into the sack, pulled out a little jar of peach jam, and placed it next to the bread. "I already paid Miss Galley. She said the rent covers this month. She said to bring bread if I wanted the upstairs room clean." He stared at her again. "Miss Galley sent you?" She nodded once. "She said you'd say no. Tell me not to leave until you remember." He leaned back slowly. "Remember what?" She looked down at the loaf, then up at him clear and flat. "My mama used to cook here. For you." Silence drew long and stiff in the space between them. The fire had long since burned down. The room held only the groan of wood and something unspoken. He pushed the mug aside. "That was years ago." She remembered it like it was yesterday. "Said you always asked for more biscuits than one man could eat." She had a hand for dough, that's all. "She said you smiled once, too." He looked away. "That ain't true." She sat. "Pull the bread closer. Do you want a slice? Or not?" He shook his head. She tore off a piece anyway, buttered it slowly, took a bite, watched him the whole time. "What's your name?" he asked. "Same as hers." He stiffened. "She didn't want it that way," she added. "Didn't want me named after her. Said names had weight, but I figured weight's all we got anyway." He said nothing. She looked up the staircase, then back. "The room still has the cradle in the corner?" He didn't answer. She stood. I walked toward the stairs. "Leave it," he said. She turned. "Why?" "Just leave it." She looked at him for a long second. "It still rocks, don't it?" He stood too fast. The chair scraped back. "You came here to stir ghosts?" "I came here for the truth." "Well, it ain't upstairs." "No," she said. "It's under your feet." They stood like that, still as the house around them. "Miss Galley should have kept quiet," he muttered. "She didn't say much, just that you owed a debt." "To who?" "To someone gone, and someone is still standing." She took another bite of bread. "This rent?" she said, gesturing to the loaf. "It's just payment for the truth." "You gonna stay long?" "Depends on how honest you get." He sat again, slower this time, like the chair might break under him. "That room's cold," he said. "I'm not here for comfort. You won't find peace." "I'm not here for peace." He studied her. "You think you know what happened?" "Number. I think I know what I didn't." "What's that?" She didn't fall. His fingers clenched. "Who said she did?" "You did. In your letter. The one you made Miss Galley write." He looked away. "She didn't write it right," he said. "She wrote what you told her." He didn't respond. She walked to the stairs, rested her hand on the banister. It groaned beneath her touch. "Every board in this house knows what happened," she said. "You sure you want to know too?" She turned slightly. "I already do." Then she climbed the stairs. The man stayed seated, staring at the bread. The crust split just slightly where steam still lifted. She opened the door upstairs. It creaked like it remembered her too. "Still smells like her," she called down. He didn't answer. She walked in, dropped her bag on the bed, sat beside it. The cradle stood in the corner, empty, slightly rocking. She didn't touch it, just whispered, "I'm home, Mama." Downstairs, the man finally touched the bread, broke it in half, ate a piece without jam, chewed slowly. Outside, the wind picked up. Inside, the cradle stopped rocking. The floor groaned under her steps like it had been holding its breath too long. She didn't flinch, just kept climbing, hand on the rail, eyes ahead. No hesitation, no pause. Like the stairs knew her weight. He stayed by the table, arms crossed, watching. His eyes didn't follow out of curiosity. They followed because something in his chest went tight with every creak. She reached the landing, turned right, pushed the door open with her fingertips. It swung easy. The air inside was still. Dust hung in the light like sleep. The cradle sat in the far corner, tucked between the old dresser and the wall, as if it had never been moved. She stepped in and didn't speak, just stood there, eyes roaming. She let the silence stretch. "You remember this?" he called up. "I don't think I forgot," she answered. He rose from the chair downstairs, slowly. I walked to the bottom of the staircase, but didn't climb. The room's been empty for nearly 10 years. Not all the way. What's that mean? She turned to face the doorway. Means something's still breathing in here. That room ain't haunted. No, she said, but it remembers. He didn't like that. You could see it in the way his shoulders twitched. He looked like he wanted to argue, but didn't have words lined up. She crossed to the window, pulled back the curtain. The glass was streaked. The yard below was dry, the clothesline still tied like someone had planned to come back. She spoke quietly. She told me stories of this place, but she always changed the ending. What endings? She said she cooked here, laughed here, but she never said why she left. Maybe 'cause it wasn't your business. It became my business when her hands started shaking every time someone said your name. He looked down. She sat on the bed. The mattress gave way slowly, like it hadn't held weight in years. He muttered, "You think she was the only woman with a story like that?" "Number, but this one's mine." The cradle let out a soft squeak. Just once. She turned. It was rocking, slow and steady. The window was shut. He climbed one step, then another. "You touched it?" She shook her head. "Didn't need to." He reached the top, leaned against the frame. "That thing's old. Wood shifts." "It always did that?" He didn't answer. She stood and walked to the cradle, bent slightly just enough to see the carving along the edge. She traced the initials. "HS," she said. "Your father?" "My brother." She looked over her shoulder. "He is the one who built this room." "Most of it." "He the one who—" "No." She straightened. "But he knew." "He always knew." The cradle stilled. She whispered, "It remembers her. She never told me she was expecting." "She was. I'm proof." He took a step in. "You're saying this was your crib." "I'm saying I never slept in it." His face twisted like the air got thinner. "She left before." She was pushed. He didn't deny it. Just crossed the room, stood by the window. "Wasn't I? But you were here." "I was," he said. "I heard the fall. I heard the scream." "You opened the door." He nodded. "Too late." She stared. "Too late for her or for you?" He didn't answer. The chair downstairs creaked. Once. Loud. He stiffened. "Thought I left it by the fire." "You did." Neither moved. She walked past him, back into the hallway. I looked down the stairs. The chair sat still, but it rocked again. One slow shift, then stillness. "You keep anything of hers?" she asked. "No." "You sure?" He didn't move. "I found her necklace under the porch," she said. He turned. "You went digging." I looked where memories don't like to go. He breathed through his teeth. "You came here to shame me?" "I came here to finish the story." He stepped past her, down the stairs, picked up the chair, placed it firm against the wall. I turned to face her. "You think memory makes you right?" "No," she said, "but it makes me stay." She descended the stairs slow, past him, went to the fireplace, stared at the hearth. "You burn it?" she asked. "What?" "The apron. Her letters. Anything that smelled like her." He looked down. "I would have burned it too," she said. That caught him. He looked up sharp. "Pain makes cowards out of all of us," she said. He sat in the chair. It creaked again, then went quiet. She stayed standing. "I'm staying here," she said. He didn't answer. "Until it all comes out." Still silent, she took the rest of the bread from the sack, set it on the mantel. The crust cracked as it cooled. Then she whispered, like to no one, "It remembers." The cellar door was quiet at first, hidden behind the old coat rack, buried in shadow, barely a seam in the wall, but she found it. She didn't knock, just gripped the iron handle and pulled. It didn't budge. She pulled again. Wood groaned low. Then a crack of resistance gave way. Footsteps thundered behind her. His hand hit the door just as it started to open. "Don't," he said. She didn't move. "You keep this locked for a reason?" she asked. "Ain't nothing down there." "Then why lock it?" He didn't answer, just pressed the door shut and slid the latch into place. A solid metal bolt clicked like it hadn't moved in years. "Are you hiding something?" she said. "No." "Then what's crying?" He stiffened. What? Middle of the night, low, like something hurt. The house makes sounds. This ain't the house. Are you saying I'm lying? I'm saying you're scared. He stepped back, jaw tight. You want to see dark corners, go rent the person's attic. You kept her down there. No. She told me. You said she never told you the ending. She didn't, but her dreams did. He walked away, fast, but his hands shook. She followed. You hear it too, don't you? No. Lying doesn't help. I said no. He grabbed the coat rack and slammed it against the door. You want the upstairs room? Stay in it. She crossed her arms. Have you ever gone down there since she left? He didn't look back. Are you afraid? He turned. I've bled in that cellar. I've buried animals, salted meat, and mended things down there for years. And never heard it cry? No. She stepped closer. Are you lying to me or to yourself? His voice dropped. I ain't going back down there. She stared hard. What's there? She asked. He didn't speak. What's left? He moved to the window, stared out like it might rescue him. She said softer. Is that where it happened? No. Then what is it? He shook his head. Tell me. You don't want it. I want all of it. He turned, face pale. That room, don't forget. That floor remembers footsteps that never came back up. She went quiet. He sat suddenly, like he couldn't stand any more. She waited. He whispered. She wasn't the only one. Before her. Before me, even. She sat across from him. Then why keep it sealed? His eyes met hers. Because memory grows teeth. Silence spread. The fire popped in the hearth. The cellar door stayed shut. She said, You want me to leave? No. Then unlock it. He stood. I walked toward the rack, stopped halfway. You open that door, he said. It won't shut easily again. I know. I ain't helping. Didn't ask you to. She rose and crossed the room, pulled the rack aside. She reached for the bolt. I stared at it. You think it'll bite? He said. I think it already did. The latch was stiff, but it gave. The door moaned open an inch. Cold air drifted up. He stayed seated. She stepped down once, twice. Darkness wrapped around her legs like wet rope. He muttered, Don't call it. Don't speak into it. I'm not afraid. You should be. She took another step. Wood whined. He whispered, If it says your name, don't answer. She stopped. He looked up. She did. That's why she didn't make it back. The wind outside picked up, a dry, hollow whistle through the cracks. She stepped back up. Tomorrow, she said. At first light, he nodded. We opened it. Together. He closed his eyes. She closed the door, locked the bolt again. Cover it with the rack. The crying came that night. Louder, longer, neither of them slept. The floorboard creaked differently near the foot of the bed. Not loose, not cracked, swollen, like it had something trapped beneath. She crouched, ran her fingers along the grain until she found the seam. Wiggled her nails in. It lifted with a quiet pop. Dust swirled. Underneath, tucked in a torn envelope, was a Polaroid. Edges curled, color faded. But it was clear enough. Her mother, young, smiling softly, wearing the red apron she never spoke of. And beside her, one hand at her back, the other around her waist. Him. No distance, no question. The girl stared at it for a long time. Her thumb brushed her mother's face, like it might warm beneath her touch. Downstairs, the fire was crackling again. Footsteps moved, boots on wood. She didn't wait. She came down slowly, the photo between her fingers. He didn't look up from the hearth. Didn't sleep? She didn't answer, just walked over and held it out. He turned, took one look, and froze. You lied, she said. He didn't deny it, just took the photo and sat. I asked you before, she said. You said she just cooked here. She did. And wore your shirt. He looked at the image again. That day was different. She crossed her arms. How many different days were there? He didn't speak. You told Miss Galley you didn't touch her. I didn't. Then explain that. He swallowed hard. She was smiling. She smiled for safety. She stayed. She stayed because she had nowhere else. He set the photo on the table. You don't know her. I know her hands. I know her scars. I know what she didn't say. You know the version she needed to survive. I know the truth. You know the truth. She leaned in. Why'd you hide this? Because it ain't mine to keep. You kept everything else. He didn't answer. She picked up the photo. You held her like you owned her. I held her like I didn't want her to fall. She still did. He looked down. I wasn't strong enough. You were stronger than her. Silence. She whispered, "She loved you." He blinked slowly. Maybe. And you? I never said that. But you felt it? He didn't move. She sat, placed the photo between them. Was I supposed to be yours? She asked, his jaw clenched. Don't. Say it. No. Do you think so? I think I failed her. Then say it. I don't know. She didn't flinch. You do. He looked at the fire. She told me she lost the baby. She didn't. She said it bled out. She ran. With me. He looked at her like he was seeing it now. The same chin, same eyes, same quiet in the voice. She said I died, she asked. She said it ended. And you never asked? I knew better than to dig where the earth wasn't mine. But you still buried her. He shut his eyes. She told me to. She leaned back. She gave you that? She said if anyone asked, I'd say she was gone. You agreed. I owed her. Because you hurt her? Because I didn't stop them. Silence stretched like rope pulled too tight. The judge, she asked. He nodded. And others. She cooked. They ate. They took. She stared at him. And you let it happen. He didn't speak. She picked up the Polaroid again. I turned it over. Faint writing on the back. One line smudged. I am still mine. She wrote that. He nodded. She whispered, even after all that. She was fired, he said, even when they tried to drown her. She folded the photo, slid it into her pocket. You gonna burn it? He asked. No. Why keep it? Proof. Of what? That she lived. He looked down. She stood. I walked to the door. Paused. I'm opening the cellar today, she said. He didn't stop her. She opened the door, letting the morning light touch her face. The cold didn't bite as hard now. Behind her, the fire crackled on. Quiet, tired, and upstairs, the cradle let out one slow creak. The lock was already cracked from the night before. One hard twist with the flathead, and it gave. Metal clanged, dust rose. Cold air hit her chest like breath from something buried. She stood still for a moment, lantern in one hand, bare feet on the top step. He was out back splitting wood, or pretending to. She didn't wait for him. She stepped down. The cellar was colder than it should have been, not just dirt and stone cold. It was the kind that held still, like listening to something. She moved slowly, one creak at a time. Each step felt like memory underfoot. The flame flickered. She kept it high. The last step moaned when she shifted her weight. Then she saw it. Dead center of the room. Half lit. A cradle. Dust blanketed it, but the shape was clean. Wooden rails, hand-carved, small as a box for kittens. Rocking side to side, slow, without touch. She walked to it, boots sinking into the soft earth. The cradle didn't stop. It kept moving, like it had somewhere to be. She crouched, didn't reach for it, just looked. No blanket inside, no toys, no bones. Empty. Still, it rocked. Behind her, the door creaked again. Steps followed, measured, heavy. She didn't look up. I told you, he said. You didn't. I said don't open it. She stood, faced him. Then you should have thrown away the key. He kept to the wall, arms stiff at his sides. You weren't supposed to see it. You mean remember it. He looked at the cradle. It's not hers. I know. It's not yours either. I figured. He stepped closer. My mother lost too. Years before me. She carved that herself. She kept it down here. She couldn't stand the sight upstairs. Said this room knew silence better. The cradle creaked once. She used to sit right there, he said, pointing to the corner. Hours. Just waitin'. For what? He shook his head. Noise maybe. Something alive. Does she ever get it? Only from me. The cradle rocked again, sharper now, like wind, though the air didn't move. She stepped back. Your mother let her down here? She begged. To hide? To feel safe. She wasn't safe. No. She looked at the cradle again. How long was she here? 3 nights, maybe 4. You check on her. Once. And she wouldn't speak, just hummed. The cradle stilled. She moved toward the back wall. Shelves held broken jars, rusted scissors, and a doll's arm. She brushed dust aside with her sleeve. You store your guilt here, too. I store what I can't bury. She turned. Does that include her? No. Does she ever ask you to help her leave? She didn't ask for anything. Not even protection. He didn't answer. She walked back to the cradle, reached down. Fingers found something soft tucked beneath the frame. She pulled gently. A red cloth, torn apron, faded print of tiny white flowers. Blood dried where the strap had snapped. She wore this the day she left, she said. I know. She told me it vanished. She threw it under there. Why? To forget. No, she said, to mark it. He looked away. She always said grief lives quietly, but shame, it sings. He turned to her. You came here to punish me? I came here to finish her song. The cradle gave one last creak, then stopped. He stepped forward. She used to say your name when she slept. She said she never named me. She lied. What name? He hesitated. Mercy. She froze. He added, said it soft, like it hurts. She gripped the apron tight. You believe I'm yours. I believe she bled because of me. That wasn't the question. He looked at her now, fully. I don't know, he said. Yes, you do. He nodded once. Then maybe. She turned toward the stairs. What are you going to do with it? He asked. The cradle? The truth. She didn't answer. He followed her up. Step by step, she closed the cellar door. Didn't latch it, didn't cover it. She walked to the fire, placed the apron on the hearthstone. Burn it? He asked. No. Then why put it there? To remind you. He sat on the edge of the table. She looked at him. She cooked here, but she cried here too. He didn't argue. The cradle didn't rock again. But in the silence, the house held its breath, and this time, they heard it, both of them. A hum, low, faint, coming from nowhere, and everywhere. He sat with his back to the fire, elbows on his knees, hands twisted like he didn't know what to do with them. She stood near the window, staring at nothing. The light was sharp today, honest. There wasn't much room to hide in it. He said, I remember the night she left. She didn't move. She cooked early that day. Biscuits, eggs, made enough for two. I thought it meant she was staying. Did she say that? The girl asked. Number, but she hummed. Did she smile? He hesitated. Not with her mouth. She turned from the window. Then tell it. The whole thing. He nodded slowly, like the weight of it had been building behind his teeth for years. The judge stopped by that afternoon. Alone this time. Wore that coat he always wore when he wanted to look friendly. Said he just wanted pie. Your mother made him pie? Number, your mother did. Her jaw locked. He kept going. She said she didn't want to. I told her I'd make him leave. She said no. Said it'd only make it worse. She told you why? He swallowed. Said the judge had ears in places I didn't. And you believed her? I did. She crossed the room. Then why didn't you go in after her? She asked me not to. She begged you. He didn't answer. She was in that room with him. You stood outside and listened. I didn't. You did. He dropped his head. She came out quiet, wouldn't look at me. Had the pie dish in one hand and her apron soaked down the middle. She stepped closer. Then, she dropped the dish on the porch, didn't speak, walked back in, packed a single bag, and told me I'd never see her again. That's what she said. He nodded. Exactly that. She reached into her coat. I pulled the photo. Hold it out. Then explain this. He looked. The bruise on her mother's arm. Deep, purple, finger-shaped. That wasn't from the judge, she said. He didn't deny it. You did that. She grabbed my sleeve when I tried to stop her. And you pulled away hard enough to mark her? I didn't mean to. You think that matters? No. She took the photo back, slid it away slowly. I thought she'd calm down, he said. I thought... You thought she'd change her mind. She always came back to the stove. Because she had nowhere else. He looked at the fire. I made bread that night. She blinked. What? After she left, I couldn't sit still. I didn't know what to do with my hands, so I made bread. You made it. Flour all over the floor. Used her apron, the one with the red stitching. She stared at him. The one I found in the cellar. He nodded. I thought maybe if I cooked, she'd smell it. Come back. She turned away. I walked to the mantel. The loaf sat there, untouched since she placed it 2 nights ago, still wrapped in the cloth, still waiting. She picked it up. You didn't deserve her food, she said. He stood. That was hers. She taught me. Said bread was the only thing that stayed warm even when people didn't. He stepped forward. You baked that? Number she did. In me. She crossed the room, tossed the bread into the fire. He lunged. No! It hit the flames. Crust caught quickly. Smoke rose fast. He pulled back like it burned him, but it hadn't touched him. She watched it blacken. She never got to eat what she made. You didn't have to. I did. Crackle, population ash curling at the edges. The scent turned bitter. I kept that bread for her, she said, but she's not coming back. No. She left both of us, but only one of us deserved it. He looked at her, broken. I didn't hit her. You bruised her. I didn't mean to, but you did. The fire ate the last of the loaf. She fed you, she said, and you left her starving. He sank into the chair. I would have done it differently. You didn't. They sat in the same room now, same fire, same smoke, but only one of them was full, and it wasn't him. She waited until he stepped outside again. Didn't ask where he was going. I didn't care. He said something about the fence line, but she knew better. The man just needed distance, and every time he took it, she moved closer to the things he tried to bury. The fire had burned low. Just a bed of ash and char now. She grabbed the poker and stirred gently, pushing through the gray like sifting bone from bone. Still warm underneath. Not hot, just settled. Then it caught. A soft clink. Metal on stone. She dropped the poker, reached in with the corner of her sleeve. Something flat, small. She pulled it out slowly, black dust clinging like it didn't want to let go. It was a badge, star-shaped, rusted, dented at one point. The letters were worn but not gone. Sheriff. She stared. I turned it in her hand. The soot came off in streaks. A burn mark ran across one corner. She didn't flinch. The door opened behind her. She didn't turn. You throw this in? She asked. Silence. She stood and held it up without facing him. Why's this in the fire? He stepped in. Boots thudding slowly. You weren't supposed to find that. You should have buried it deeper. I thought the fire was enough. She turned now. Hold the badge between them. Yours? He nodded once. You never said you were sheriff. It didn't matter. It does now. He exhaled. It didn't mean much back then. Still wore it, though. Only for a while. You wore it when she was here. Yes. You wore it when the judge walked through your door. He looked down. Yes. And you still let it happen. I was young. You were sworn in. He looked at her now. You think I don't know that? She set the badge on the table. Hard. You let men in this house who didn't knock. I tried to stop it. You didn't try hard enough. I told her to leave. She didn't need advice. She needed protection. He sank into the chair beside the hearth. That badge never fits right. Then you should have given it up before she bled. I did. Too late. He didn't argue. She picked up the badge again, studied it. Why burn it now? Because every time I touched it, I heard her voice. She screamed. He nodded. Not loud, just final. She clenched the badge in her palm. You keep the cradle. You keep the apron. You keep her breath in these walls. But this you burn. I didn't want it near her. She put her trust in you. I failed her. She dropped the badge back onto the table. You failed both of us. I know. The fire popped once, soft. Then something shifted above them. Wood creaked, rhythmic, not footsteps. She froze. I looked at the ceiling, the cradle. He stood too. They both waited. Another creak. Rocking. Not slow this time. Not like before. Like something was being soothed or summoned. She took the stairs first. He followed close. The house didn't speak except in groans, and the groans led straight to the bedroom. She opened the door. The cradle rocked hard now. Back and forth. Back and forth. Dust falling from its joints. It had not moved like this before. There was no wind, no open window, nothing touching it. Just motion, repetition, urgency. She stepped toward it. Don't, he said. Why? I've seen what happens when it stops. She crouched slowly beside it. The room went still around her, except for that sound. The wood thumps the floor again and again like a ticking heart. She whispered, Mama. The cradle jerked, then stopped. He staggered back, hit the dresser. She didn't move, just stared into the empty space where nothing lay. "What did you see?" he asked. She looked up at him. "I think she wants the rest of it." "I gave you everything." "No," she said. "Not yet." He shook his head. "It's been years. Truth doesn't rot. It waits." He stepped closer to the cradle, bent down, picked up the badge from where she'd dropped it. "I took the call," he said. She watched him. "The night she was hurt, I answered the knock. I stepped aside. She whispered, 'You let him in.' I left the room. You left her. I didn't think—" "You did." He looked down at the badge in his palm. "I threw this in the fire to kill the part of me that didn't act. And it didn't work." She reached out, took the badge from him. "Hold it over the cradle. You think she wants this?" He didn't answer. She placed it inside. The cradle didn't move again. She stood. "Keep it there," she said. He nodded once. They walked out, closed the door. No lock, no fear. Back downstairs, she dusted her hands off, sat at the table. He didn't sit. She stared into the hearth. "You gonna dig up the rest?" He looked at the floor. She added, "Because I will." The widow lived 3 fences down and 2 steps outside of town, in a house that didn't believe in visitors. The porch sagged like it was tired of holding up silence. The wind knocked once before she did. The old woman opened the door slowly, squinting. "I ain't sick," she said first. "I'm not the sheriff," the girl answered. "Worse," the widow muttered. "You look like her." "I'm told that a lot." "You want something, or you're just here to haunt my porch?" "She left something with you," the girl said. "I got a lot of things folks left. A book, brown leather, stains on the edges." The widow stiffened. "What's your name?" "Mercy." The old woman stepped aside. Inside, the walls were covered in coats nobody wore anymore. A hat rack held sorrow. A pan on the stove hadn't been moved in years. She told me if anyone came asking for it, to make sure they weren't here for a story. I'm not. She also said if you came, she wouldn't need to explain. The widow walked to a small shelf near the back door, pulled out a cloth-wrapped bundle, handed it over. "She hid it in my shed. Said your daddy'd never look there." She was right. The girl unwrapped the cloth. Brown leather, soft from handling. Her mother's name scratched faint into the inside cover. She opened it. The pages weren't clean. Grease smudges, flour thumbprints, butter stains that hadn't faded. But what caught her were the margins. Every recipe had a name. Cornbread, Judge Harlan. Don't forget honey. He'll notice. Roast chicken, Sheriff Gant. Always dark meat. It's always hot. Biscuits. Eli Harlan. Smile when you serve. Don't speak. Each note is tighter than the last. Red ink. Underlines. Warnings. She flipped faster. Her hands began to shake. Peach jam. Widow March. Safe. Tell her about Mercy. The girl looked up. "You knew." "I suspected. She left this with you." "Why?" "Because she needed someone to remember what she couldn't say out loud." "This ain't cooking," the girl said, voice low. "This is record-keeping." The widow nodded. She fed them so they wouldn't take more. She fed them so they'd look the other way. She fed them so they'd leave her standing. The girl slammed the book shut. She named them all. "She protected you in flour and grease." She shouldn't have had to. She knew what she was up against. The girl stood. "So do I." The widow stepped forward. "What are you planning to do with it?" "Finish what she started." The old woman shook her head. "There's a reason she didn't." "I'm not her." "You think being angry makes you stronger?" "No," the girl said. "Remembering does." She turned toward the door. "She loved you more than anything," the widow called after her. "She didn't even name me. She named you on every page of that book." Outside, the wind pulled harder now. The sky had darkened, like something overheard and didn't like it. She walked back to the house fast, didn't stop to think. The book is heavy in her coat. Her mother's voice was printed in oil and warnings. He was at the table when she walked in, shirt stained from work. "My eyes are tired." "Where have you been?" he asked. "Getting dinner." He stared. She placed the cookbook on the table, flipped it open to the page marked biscuits. He didn't look down. She read it aloud. "Smile when you serve. Don't speak." He flinched. She flipped again. "Hot stew. Governor Rowe. Watch for the pinky ring." He stood. "Stop." "Apple butter. Never with toast. Only in a jar." That's how he liked it when— I said stop. She dropped the book. Now you see it, she said. I always saw it. You ignored it. I thought I could protect her by playing quiet. You protected them. He turned away. She stepped close. She wrote her life in butter and sugar and salt. Every dish has a warning. She did what she had to. She should have burned the kitchen down. He didn't answer. She picked the book back up, turned to the final page. Blank, except one line written across the bottom. If she finds this, teach her to cook like she's never. Hungry again. The girl whispered, She never wanted me to serve anyone. He said nothing. She held the book tight. I'm not feeding ghosts. No one's asking you to. I'm not feeding liars either. I'm not hungry. Good. She walked to the stove, pulled the last pan she hadn't touched, scraped it clean, tossed the ashes into the fire. Then she took the skillet, and the ladle, and the jar marked safe. She placed them all on the table like a quiet kind of evidence. He looked down at them. She said, You hungry now? No. Then remember that. And she left the book open, spine cracked, truth bare on every page. The sound of tires on gravel was too slow to be nothing, not the sheriff, not a neighbor. This wasn't someone passing through. It was someone coming back. She was on the porch before the car stopped moving. Old, black, low to the ground. Clean like it didn't belong on a road this dusty. The engine cut. The door opened. He stepped out slowly. The cane hit the dirt first, then the polished boot, then the long coat, untouched by weather, hair white and combed back like it had been done by someone else's hand. The face was older, but not weak. She didn't blink. He shut the door without slamming, looked up at her like he was walking into a courtroom. I knew she'd leave behind something stubborn, he said. She didn't speak. He took a step forward. Your face. I see her in it. But your posture? That's mine. She gripped the porch rail. You were told to forget her, he said. She answered steadily, I remember everything. He smiled. Then we have a problem. He moved closer, cane clicking. I heard you've been asking questions, unsealing doors, stirring things that settled. I'm not stirring, she said. I'm collecting. Collecting what? Names, dates, bruises, recipes. Careful, girl. That kind of memory'll rot your soul. It's already rotted yours. He tilted his head. Your mother never understood the order. Balance. She fed wolves thinking they'd spare her. They didn't. And whose fault is that? She stared. Yours. He laughed, dry. You don't know what it took to hold this place together. The silence alone nearly killed me. You think silence is strength? I think it's mercy. She stepped down off the porch. Mercy's my name. You don't get to define it. He stopped smiling. Behind her, the screen door creaked open. The man stepped out. No badge, no gun, just his hands dirty from fence wire. The judge looked past her. Still playing host, are you? The man didn't respond. You used to understand the rules, the judge said. Now you let ghosts walk your halls and rewrite your history. The man spoke low. Maybe I'm done with history. You were never smart enough to write it. Why did you send the others to rewrite it for you? The judge's eyes narrowed. I cleaned up your messes, buried your sins. You buried her. I buried the story. She buried herself. The girl stepped between them. You came here to threaten me. I came here to remind you. She stepped forward. Then hear me clear. I'm not forgetting. I'm not folding. And I'm not feeding you. His jaw twitched. You think that book scares me? I think it should. I've outlived bigger mouths. She leaned in. Have you ever tried peach jam made by a woman who hated you? He didn't answer. I have her cookbook. I have her blood. And now I have her voice. He turned away. You'll end up just like her. I pray I do. The man stepped forward now. You done? The judge looked at him. She was never yours to protect. She is now. You always were a coward. And you always needed a girl too young to tell you no. Silence dropped like a hammer. The judge's cane shook once. Say that again, he whispered. The man didn't blink. You heard me. The judge walked back to his car. You'll regret this. The girl called out, Next time, bring a shovel. He stopped. Why? Because I'm digging everything up. He didn't look back. He just got in the car and drove away without dusting the air. She stood there, shoulders stiff, heart pounding, palms burning. The man stepped beside her. "You okay?" "No." "Good." They walked back inside together. She sat at the table. The recipe book is still open. The badge is still upstairs. The cradle is still waiting. He poured 2 cups of water. She said, "He came for silence." "I know." "But he left with a name." He handed her the cup. "Yours?" "No." She said, "Hers." The fire popped, the wind shifted, and the house didn't creak. It stood still, listening. She smelled the smoke before she saw it. It wasn't cooking smoke. It wasn't hearth warmth or stew bubbling in a blackened pot. It was sharp, oily, the kind that clung to the throat. She ran out the back door, stopped at the corner of the house. The front porch was already gone. Flames crawled fast across the shingles. The windows cracked from the heat. Black smoke twisted out like something alive. In front of it, the judge stood with a can of kerosene swinging in one hand. He turned when he heard her boots hit the dirt. "You burned her once," she said. He didn't look sorry. And still she talks. "What do you want?" "To finish it." "You mean erase it?" "Same thing." She stepped forward, eyes watering. "You want silence so bad? Why'd you come screaming?" "I came for peace." "You came for control." He tossed the can aside. It clattered empty. "She poisoned the soil," he said. "You're just the root left behind." She planted nothing but herself. He stepped closer to the flame. This house held too many secrets. "She fed you in that kitchen, and still starved me. You took what wasn't yours." He laughed. "This place? This family? This whole county? It's always been mine." "Are you sure about that?" The fire roared higher. The windows shattered. Heat pushed against her chest. From behind them, the man came running, stopped dead when he saw what had become of the porch. "Help me," she said. He froze. "The cradle," she said. "The book. Her name. I can't." "You will." She ran. The judge shouted, "Let it burn." She didn't stop. She ducked her head, wrapped her coat tight, and dove through the side door just before the frame collapsed. Inside, the air was red. Breathing was hard. Walls groaned like they were crying. She stumbled through the hallway. Up the stairs, every step gets hotter. The bedroom door was still standing. She kicked it open. The cradle sat still. Char streaked the edges. Ash floated in the air like snow. She grabbed the cookbook from the dresser, tucked it into her coat. The cradle rocked once. She touched it gently, whispered, "We remember you." It stopped. The ceiling cracked loud. She turned and ran. The stairs were splintering. She jumped the last 3 and landed hard. The smoke chased her. She burst through the back just as the kitchen caved in. The man caught her, pulled her back, coat smoking. She shoved the book into his chest. "It's safe." He stared at her, panicked. "You went back in? Some names are worth the fire." The judge stood at the edge of the flames, smiling. "You're too late," she said. "She's still here." He said nothing. "You didn't erase her," she shouted. "You made her louder." Ash swirled in the wind. The judge turned, walked to his car, and drove off without a word. She stood in the yard, smoke rising around her. The roof collapsed behind them. The man fell to his knees. She didn't cry. She watched the last wall fall, then whispered, "You didn't take her with you." He looked up. "You all right?" She shook her head. "But you're still standing." She nodded, and behind them, in the ash, something glowed, faint, hot, steady. Not gone, still burning. The flames kept climbing. The house was nearly gone, but not quiet. Wood snapped like bones giving up, and the wind carried the sound straight across the fields. She stood in the yard, soaked in smoke, the recipe book pressed tight to her chest. The cradle was ash now. The windows are gone, but something deeper hadn't left. The man knelt beside her, coughing hard. His shirt was singed, hands scraped raw. He tried to speak, but gave up. She didn't need him to. She stepped forward, toward what was left of the porch, toward the edge of the fire. He called out weak, "Don't!" But she didn't stop. She walked to the burning threshold, stared into the place where the kitchen had stood, the stove, the apron hook, the corner where her mother used to hum while waiting for biscuits to rise. The song came to her in pieces, soft at first, breathless, half lost, then louder. She sang. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't perfect. It was a memory, a kitchen tune passed down with flour and fear, the kind of song only women knew. the kind that helped them keep moving when nobody came. The fire shifted, crackled quieter, the smoke drew back. She sang louder, steadier, and then the wind stopped. The man stood now, watching. His mouth opened. His face was pale. Behind him, a car door slammed. The judge had returned, maybe to gloat, maybe to make sure the silence stayed permanent. He stood just beyond the smoke line, smirking, his hands in his pockets. She didn't look at him. She kept singing. One note broke, but she picked it up again. The fire slowed, not out, but soft now, like a beast tamed. She took a step into the ruins. The man shouted again, "Horse, stop!" She raised her hand, not to him, to the sky. The judge's voice cut through. "What do you think you're doing?" She didn't answer. The fire around her feet died. The earth hissed. And then it happened. The sky opened. No thunder, no warning. Just rain. Hard, cold, immediate. Steam rose from the ash. Smoke drowned. The fire shriveled, sank, fizzled out like a sin finally confessed. The man stumbled forward. "How?" She kept singing. The rain soaked her hair, her coat, the book. She didn't stop. The judge stepped back. "No," he said. "No, no, no." He slipped on the wet dirt, fell to one knee. "I tried to stand. Failed." "You don't know what you're doing," he choked. She turned now, faced him, still singing. He shouted, "This land listens to me." She didn't flinch. "You hear me? I built this place." She walked toward him, one step, then another. He backed up, slipping again. "The rain won't save you," he growled. "It's not for me," she said. Then she stopped singing. Silence dropped. The wind returned, slow, like a breath released. The judge collapsed fully, hands in the mud. He looked up at her with wide, trembling eyes. She was nothing. She knelt beside him. She was everything. The man stood just behind them, watching. The judge's lips trembled. "What now?" she whispered. "Now you listen." To what? To her voice. He went quiet. The wind moved through the trees again. Somewhere above, a bird called once. No echo. Only that. The judge's head dropped. He didn't speak again. She stood. I looked down at her soaked coat. The book inside was ruined, but not unreadable. Pages curled, ink running. But the words were still there. The warnings, the names, the song. She looked at the man. He looked back. She stopped rocking, he said. She nodded. "She's done waiting." The judge lay still in the mud. The house was gone, but the story stayed. The new cabin stood smaller than the last. No front porch, no rocking chair, just four walls, a roof, and a wood stove that creaked when it got too hot. The floor didn't groan. The windows were tight. No space for secrets. She finished shaping the loaf, dusted the dough with flour, then slid it into the oven. No apron, no old songs this time. Just silence, the kind that was chosen, not forced. A nail above the door held the rusted sheriff's badge, still burned around the edge. She hadn't cleaned it, hadn't needed to. The cradle hadn't come with her. She left that in the ash where it belonged. The judge's name hadn't made it into the paper, but folks knew. The man didn't show his face again. Not in town, not in memory. The land took him without asking. The man, her man, maybe or maybe not, hadn't come back either. He said nothing after the fire, just stood outside what was left, looked at her one last time, and walked down the road with nothing in his hands. She hadn't followed. She stirred the coals, cracked the oven just enough to check the crust. Browned perfectly. She smiled. Not for anyone. Just because she could. The recipe book sat open on the table, warped from rain. Pages bloomed at the corners like it had been breathing too long underwater. Her mother's handwriting still stretched across every margin, but this page, this one didn't belong to her. This one was new. The girl's own writing, firm and wide. Mercy's bread makes one loaf, enough for no one but yourself. Eat it warm. Eat it slowly. Eat it loud so no one thinks you're hiding. She tore a piece of cloth, folded it smooth, and set it beside the book. The kettle hummed. She poured the water steadily into a chipped mug, the same one her mother used to fill for men who wouldn't meet her eye. Now it was only hers. She pulled the bread from the oven. The crust cracked as the air touched it. The smell filled every beam and corner. Real bread, not payment, no apology. She set it on the table. Steam curled into the cold. She didn't wait for anyone to join her. She sliced a piece, ate it standing. No one to impress, No one to fear. The sky outside stayed gray, but not cruel. Just quiet. She moved to the recipe book, turned one more page, and wrote again. If she finds this. She paused, then added, "Tell her the fire didn't take me." She closed the book. The nail above the door still held steady. The badge swung gently whenever the wind pressed against the frame. She looked at it once more. "I kept the house," she said. "This time, it's mine." No reply came, just the sound of rain, faint now, tapping the roof like someone knocking without urgency. She took another slice of bread, sat down at the table. She chewed, thought, waited, not for him, not for her mother, but for herself, and for the next recipe she'd write. The knock came just after dusk, one tap, then another. Not loud, not afraid, just enough to let her know she wasn't alone. She stood in the kitchen with flour still on her palms, one hand resting on the table. The loaf sat half-eaten beside the open recipe book. Her own page is still fresh, the ink not yet smudged. She didn't move at first, just listened. A third knock, slower this time. She walked to the door, past the nail with the rusted badge still swinging, past the chair no one else had sat in for weeks. She opened it without asking who. A girl stood on the other side, 15 maybe, pale coat, hair soaked through, shoes muddy. No words. She stared up at Mercy like she already knew her. "You lost?" Mercy asked. The girl shook her head. "No, ma'am." "Are you looking for someone?" "No." Mercy waited. The girl looked past her into the house. This used to be her place, didn't it? Mercy's heart tightened. Whose? The girl didn't answer, just stepped forward slowly. "She taught my mother to make cornbread." Mercy blinked. "She said your mama wrote everything down, even the hurt." Mercy stepped aside. "Come in." The girl hesitated at the doorframe, then crossed it. Quiet, careful. She looked around like she recognized it all. Not the walls, not the floor, but the weight. "Are you hungry?" Mercy asked. "No." "Are you cold?" The girl nodded. Mercy poured water from the kettle, set the mug down in front of her, sat across the table. "I didn't think anyone remembered her," Mercy said. The girl looked at the recipe book. She fed half the county, of course they remember. They didn't act like it. They were afraid. Of her? The girl shook her head. Of what she made them feel. Mercy exhaled slowly. "Where's your mama now?" "Gone." "I'm sorry. She always said your mother was the last woman who looked her in the eye and said no." Mercy swallowed. She was good at that. The girl reached into her coat, pulled out a folded page, yellowed, torn at the corner. "I think this belongs to you." Mercy took it. Handwriting, her mother's. The corners of the letters curled from pressure. It was a recipe, not for food, for memory, to hold on to a name, whisper it before fire, keep it in salt, never let it spoil. Mercy traced her finger along the edge. "She gave this to your mama." The girl nodded, said if anything happened to her, to pass it on to the next daughter who couldn't sleep. Mercy stood, turned to the fire. She held the paper close, but didn't let it burn, just enough to warm it. She whispered her own name, then her mother's, then turned back. "You have a place to stay?" she asked. The girl shook her head. "You're not here for bread," Mercy said. "No. You're here for a recipe." The girl looked up. "I don't want to cook for them." "You won't." Mercy walked to the cupboard, pulled down a blank notebook, set it on the table. "You'll write your own." The girl looked at her, eyes steady. "You remember?" she asked. Mercy nodded. "Everything." The wind pushed against the door but didn't enter. The badge didn't swing. The house didn't creak. The recipe book stayed open. And now there were two women at the table, one who came from the fire and one who came to learn how to survive it.